Thank you so much for joining us here on the Dwellynn Show. I'm your host, Dantes. I've got the awesome Rod Khleif with us today. How you doing, Rod? How's things with you today?
I am fabulous. It is a beautiful day in paradise, and it's a beautiful day to be alive, my friend. And I appreciate you having me on the show.
Fantastic. So, Rod, I'm sure you can do a way better job than I can. Can you tell our Dwell listeners a little bit more about yourself and, kind of what you've been up to lately, actually?
Sure. Well, let me tell you a little bit of my story because it's painful but interesting. So I immigrated to this country when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's Vansha, and we ended up in Denver, Colorado. And I lived there for 30 years. And we didn't have very much money when we were getting started. In fact, I wore clothes from hand-me-down and clothes from the Salvation Army and the Goodwill until all the way through junior high school. We ate expired food and drank powdered milk because that's really all we could afford. Now, I'm sure some of your listeners had it harder than we did, but I knew I wanted more. And my mom had an incredible work ethic. She babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And with her babysitting money, she bought the house across the street from us for $30,000 when I was 14. And with her babysitting money, that's how hard she worked. And then when I was 17, about to graduate from high school, she told me that it had gone up $20,000 in her sleep. And I said, what? I'm getting into real estate. I'm going to be a real estate mogul. And didn't make very much money in my first couple of years. I got my real estate broker's license actually when I turned 18. You could do it with education back then. Now you need experience. But I became a broker when I turned 18. And I made about $8,000 my first year, maybe $10,000. Second year, maybe $10,000 to $12,000. But my third year, I made over $100,000, which back in 1981 was a pretty decent amount of money. And so what happened between year 2 and year 3? And I like to talk about this. I talk about this on my podcast. And that is, I discovered the psychology of success. And I discovered that your success in anything, 80 to 90% of your success is your psychology or your mindset. It's pushing through fear to take action, or even worse, getting uncomfortable if you're comfortable, because the life that you want's on the other side of that comfort. And I discovered that at a very young age because I went and worked for somebody that taught me about that. And so, he helped me change my mindset just to take massive action. And so fast forward to today, I've owned 2,000 houses that I've rented long-term, multiple apartment complexes. And in 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept, a little more than my mom's 20,000. And so, but there's a punchline. And the punchline is in 2008, I crashed and burned. And I lost that 17 million and a whole lot more. I lost $50 million in 2008 in the crash. I call it a seminar because it's never a failure unless you don't learn or grow. And I definitely learned, and I've grown, and I'm back. But it was a very painful seminar. And so, a lot of what I talk about on my podcast and at my live events and with my coaching students is how to push through fear and how to take massive action and to get the life that you want. And that's how I recovered from losing 50 million. I mean, is by clearly defining what I wanted and focusing on what I wanted, not, the present circumstances that I was in, focusing on what I wanted and then taking action and being very clear. And clarity is power, so, if you'd like, I can chat real quickly, Ola. I know it's a little off topic for your subject matter for your podcast, but I think it's relevant. And that is, I take my students through through a goal setting process, and I can do it in just a few minutes. If you'd like, I'll share it with your listeners. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. All right. So what I do, and I do this in my live events, really like the first thing we do, by the way, I've got one coming up in Denver, May 17th, 18th, 19th. And it's just me teaching for 3 days. So if any of your listeners are interested in learning about this business, go to rodindenver.com and Tickets are really very, very reasonable. It's just me teaching. I'm not bringing outside speakers in to sell you stuff. But so I do this at the event and I have it in my course and stuff as well, because it's so important. So the first thing, so if you're listening, if you have the chance to write some things down, I'd recommend you take some notes, just a couple. It'll be pretty quick. But the first thing you do is you pick an hour when you have a lot of energy and you're uninterrupted. So don't do it after a meal. Do it when you have a lot of energy, and just sit down and write down everything you could ever possibly want in life. Okay. Of course, the money, how much money do you want in the bank? How much, money do you want cash flow monthly from your real estate, from your passive investments? How much, and then all the stuff, where do you want houses, what, cars, boats, planes, jet skis, whatever, the stuff, right? Motorcycles, write down all the stuff. Then, and make sure you put short-term goals in and long-term goals. How much money do you want in a year? How much do you want in 20 years? Both in cash flow and money in the bank. Maybe how many doors do you want to be involved in if you're doing multifamily passive investment? But then once you can't think of anything else, and by the way, if you're analytical, don't stop and analyze it. Just keep writing. You can always scratch it out later, okay? Just keep writing. And keep your energy up. Make sure you're hydrated. But then once you can't think of any more stuff, then I want you to write down what you want to learn in your lifetime. I'm going to learn how to play the drums. My wife got me a drum set. It's over in one of the other buildings here in my compound, and I haven't even picked up the sticks yet. I don't even know which end of the sticks to use yet, but I'm going to learn how to play the drums. I'm also going to learn how to fly a helicopter. So what do you want to learn? Write it down. What do you want to do in your lifetime? Do you want to write a book? Where do you want to travel? All of that stuff is important. And then lastly, write down who you want to help. So it's not just the stuff. It's really everything you want to do, be, or have, and everything you want to be remembered for and stand for. So who are you going to help? Me, I bought my parents a house here in Florida, bought them a car, took them on cruises. Who do you want to do something for? So write that down. Then once you're done, it's not a goal until it's measurable, meaning you need to put a time limit on each goal. And by the way, make sure every one of your goals is clear and measurable. It can't be, I'm going to lose some weight. It's going to be, I'm going to lose 20 pounds by January 1st and feel great about it. Okay. So, make sure it's measurable, but we're going to go a step further. You're going to look at each one of your goals and you're going to put a number by each goal, which is how many years it's going to take you to achieve it. Put a 1, a 3, a 5, a 10, or even a 20. Remembering that as human beings, we will overestimate what we can accomplish in a year and massively underestimate what we can do in a decade. So keep that in mind. Then once you've got number by each goal, I want you to circle your number one goal. I mean, if you achieve this goal, it would be like, oh my God, this is so amazing. That goal, okay? Circle that goal. And if there's 2 or 3 of them that are equally exciting, just pick one. It won't matter for what we're going to do next. Then I want you to circle your top 3 one-year goals, okay? Now, take those 4 goals, put them on a separate sheet of paper. And this is where most people stop. In fact, most people don't even get this far. But take those 4 goals, put them on a separate sheet of paper, and then write down a paragraph for each goal, why it's an absolute must for you to achieve that goal. Okay, and we're almost done here. But you're going to write down why it's an absolute must, because it's the why that's going to drive you. The goal won't drive you by itself. You need to know why it's a must. So, put down, so I can show my wife what success looks like, or my husband what success looks like. So I can show my kids what it means to be successful. So we can do whatever we want, go wherever we want, bring whoever we want, whenever we want, whatever it is for you, write it down. Powerful. And by the way, use emotionally charged words. Words are very, very powerful. So use words like incredible and amazing and passionate and massive, and, use big words that will juice you. Okay. Very important. Now, once you've written a positive reason why that goals, and each one of those goals is an absolute must, not a should, it's got to be a must, then I want you to put some pain in there. So if you don't achieve the goal, how you're going to feel or what that's going to mean, and put things like, so I don't feel like a failure. okay? So I don't live a life of regret. So I don't fail my children, fail my spouse. Make it painful. I know that sounds harsh. Make it painful, because as human beings, we will do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. And this is the fuel, my friends, okay? Use that fuel to push you, to get you out of comfort, to actually take some freaking action. Okay, instead of just talking about what you're going to do, actually doing it. This is the fuel. So you're going to put positive reasons why it's a must to achieve those goals, and some pain if you don't achieve them. Okay, lastly, and this is equally important, lastly, you want to go on Google and find pictures that resonate with you associated with your goals, because the pictures really work. Now, I'm going to give you some examples here in a second. Well, actually, you know what? Let me give you some examples that I've used in my own life, if you'll humor me just a step further, because this is how you manifest these goals into your life after you've written them down. So back when I was 18, I got my real estate broker's license, right? I'm going to show houses. I'm going to be a real estate sell real estate. So I got a 4-door car, okay? I got a 4-door Ford Granada, and it was the ugliest freaking car you've ever seen in your life. But, you know, you got to have a 4-door if you're going to show houses so people can get in and out. But I worked with a guy that had a Corvette, and he let me drive that, which is a key piece here, that experiential piece. If there's something that you want a car, go drive it. You want a house, go to open houses of houses that look like the house that you want. You know, experience what it is you want as much as you possibly can. Very important. So he let me drive his Corvette. So I got a picture out of a magazine. I mean, this is before you could even spell the word internet. It didn't exist. Okay, so I got a picture out of a magazine, and I put it on the visor of that 4-door Granada. Within a year or two, I had a beautiful red Corvette. Now, I'll give you a couple more examples, but let me pre-frame what I'm going to say next by saying this. This may sound like I'm bragging, and it's not, because the things I'm going to share with you here don't interest me anymore, but they're great for illustrative purposes, okay? So, this was back at when I had this Corvette. This was back when that TV show Magnum PI was out. This is before you were even born, Ola, so you won't know what this is. But there was an actor named Tom Selleck in this TV series, and he drove this red Ferrari 308, and I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. So I got a picture of that actual Ferrari and put it on the visor of my Corvette. Within a year or two, I had a Maserati look just like it. Last example, another car example. I'm the guy that always wanted a Lamborghini. I mean, I had the pictures of the Lamborghini Countach when Mike Tyson bought one for him and his wife, and, you know, and the posters on my wall with the bikinis and the washing the, yeah, I had all that. And what's fascinating is my son, who was 9 years old, collected model cars of exotics, you know, exotic cars. So he had the Ferraris and Lamborghinis, and he had a model of the exact same color and style that I ended up buying, which I ultimately wrecked. But anyway, so pictures really work, okay? And in fact, let me show you something here. Now I know you're doing this on iTunes, but we're also recording this. I don't know if you put it on YouTube or not.
I do.
But you do, okay. Well, I've got a planner here, and I'm gonna hold it up here. In the back of this planner, I've got pictures that have been in here for 20 years, 20 years. Okay, we'll see if you can see them. The first pictures are my gratitude pictures of my kids when they were young, okay? Literally 20 plus years ago. Everything starts from a place of gratitude, by the way. You've got to have gratitude first. Then I've got pictures of the things that I wanted, you know, the houses that I wanted. What's astounding is these pictures look like the houses that I've got. The house that I'll tell you what I'm talking about here in a minute. Then, you know, then watches. I got a couple $100,000 worth of watches. Stupid shit, you know, that doesn't matter anymore. You know, the Lamborghini before I ever got it, the Rolls Royce, all this stuff that I got because I had pictures. So, you know, those of you that are analytical listening, or, you know, that I lost you already, I'm here to tell you, it'd be a big mistake, okay? Because this stuff really does work. I've got vision boards here behind my desk here. I could show you that I literally look at every single day, because I get this stuff. I got pictures on the walls around me here this is one of my offices. In both my offices, I've got pictures in my exercise room because they work. Now, let me leave you with one last comment here. I had one other really big goal, and that was to live on the beach. There's no beach in Denver, okay? I wanted to live on the beach, and I knew it for 20 years. I had pictures of palm trees, you know, and I knew I was going to live on the beach, and I ultimately built this incredible home here in Florida on an island called Casey Key here in Sarasota. It was this 10,000 square foot, 3-story home. I mean, magnificent, $8 million house. I had the beach on one side. I had my boat houses on the back side. It was like a slice through an island. It was called a Gulf to Base. I owned both sides. And, you know, I'd worked for this thing for 20 years and I finally did it. And, but there's a lesson here that I want to share with your listeners about goal setting. So about 2 months after I built it, I'm floating in the pool at night. My family's inside sleeping. It's dark, but the pool is changing colors. It's got fiber optic lighting, so it's red and yellow and green. It's changing colors, and there's a waterfall from the second floor into the pool, this massive waterfall. I mean, just magnificent. This house, I mean, wine cellar, elevator. I mean, I could go on and on. The fish tanks were $150,000. I mean, just a magnificent home. But it's 2 months after I built it. I'm floating in the pool, and I get depressed. And I don't mean just feel bad. I mean really depressed. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? I have achieved success by every measure of society's measure. Why could I possibly feel bad? And when I look back on it, I realized there were two things happening. And that's what I want to share with your listeners. The first thing is you should never achieve a big goal without having other goals lined up behind it, because you need a vision for your future. You have to have a compelling vision to drive you. You know, when they interview people that are depressed or even suicidal, they never have a vision for their future. Okay. And I didn't have a vision for the future. Like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. You need a compelling vision. So that's number one. But the second thing I want to share with your listeners, which is really important, you know, I have a podcast. In about a week, I'll hit 5.5 million downloads. Okay. So it's pretty well received. It's called Lifetime Cash Flow. I hope you'll check it out if you're listening. But, and because I incorporate a lot of the psychology of success into that podcast. And I think that's why it's so well received. But I've interviewed very, very successful people, billionaires even. And I've interviewed some of these people that are successful, but they're unhappy. And that's where I was, because I was totally focused on rod. Show the world I'm good enough. I built this testament to my ego, this house, you know, really that's what it was, to show the world I was good enough. And so I realized that I was successful, but I was unfulfilled. And so, you know, when I was depressed there, I decided to read some books, and I got, you know, Zig Ziglar and Dale Carnegie and all the motivational stuff to get back. And one of the books was Tony Robbins' book. And let me say this, if you have not seen Tony speak, you owe it to yourself to go see him speak while he's still doing it. It will change your life, okay? And it changed my life. I've followed him around the planet for 20 years now. But I went to his event in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 20 years ago, and I found out that he fed families for the holidays. I'm like, that's really cool. And so I went back and I fed 5 families for Thanksgiving. And now we do it for Christmas. But I fed 5 families. Third family changed my life. We got these big boxes of food, turkey, frozen turkey, aluminum roasting pan, gifts for the kids. And I went to a church and found out, you know, I asked them who really needs help. And they gave me some names. They gave me 5 names. And so the third family changed my life. I go up to this door, and this woman was there with 5 kids in this piece of crap house. I mean, just like a 1-bedroom. It was a 1-bedroom even. And it was a shotgun layout where you walk into the living room, you walk through the bedroom to get to the kitchen, which had the bathroom off of it. It's kind of shotgun, just a real piece of you-know-what. So the lady comes out of the house. She sees the food. She starts crying. Her kids come out. Several of those start crying. Several of the kids start crying. I start crying, and I'm hooked. And I'm blessed to say, over the last 20 years now, we've fed 65,000 children for the holidays. We've done over, I don't know, I think pushing 20,000 backpacks filled with school supplies for the local children here. We've done, I probably over 10,000 teddy bears to local police departments for officers to keep in their cars when they encounter a child that's, you know, been traumatized. And it's been my greatest gift. And again, I'm not telling you this to brag. I'm only telling you this to invite you, if you're listening, to invite you to do something for other people, number one, but to realize that success without fulfillment, success without giving back is not success. Okay. So, you know, I don't care if you don't have to do anything as big as I did. Just help somebody, pick a family, pick an elderly person and help someone else. And that will give you life's greatest joy. So That was a long response to your answer, Ola, but hopefully I added a little value.
I believe one of my greatest skill as an interviewer is listening, right?
Oh, and it's my worst. I just hit 1,000 reviews on my podcast, and the only ones that get mad at me and leave me a 1 star are the ones that get mad because I interrupt too much. So you're perfect for me.
I mean, I think that's a pretty good answer in terms of like from start to finish. I'm 33 years old. I'm sure you're, a little bit older than me. And
Double.
and you've said a lot of things, right? Like I'm young. I'm all about the money. I'm all about the chase, right? But then I realized I've got a baby girl, right? She's almost 2 years old. I've got a wife that seeks a lot of my attention. So I'm like, do I go chase after money, or do I chase after?
Can I interject something? And here I am interrupting, buddy. I lost my family over this. Okay, I lost my family, my first family. Now, I thank God every day because I wouldn't have met the amazing woman I'm with now. But because I was so focused on Rod, I lost my first family in that giant house. Okay, now I will tell you. You can see it on the picture behind me. That's my backyard now. I live in a compound here in Florida. I mean, I'm back. Okay. I lost that house on the beach. Okay. That $8 million testament to my ego, but I'm back now. I've got a compound, 6 buildings, giant main house. I've got a 2-bedroom guest house on the water. I've got a media building with a theater room and a conference center above it and garages. And I mean, it's magnificent. It's like a park back here. It's very zen. And because God's got a sense of humor, I can see my old house across the bay that I lost right out my backyard. Yeah. So the point is keeping your life in focus and in balance is so critical, especially for someone your age. And I know there are people your age listening, and I'm going to tell you, don't let your health go, and don't let your relationships go to build this success, because that's not success. Bottom line. So I'm sorry I interrupted, but I had to interject some more pain in there.
I'm glad you did, because that's what I'm striving for every day, right? Like, I go chase after this thing and then, try to justify and say I'm doing this for my baby and my wife. But in reality, maybe am I doing it for my ego? Am I trying to prove to the world that look at me, I'm special? I mean, I go on Facebook these days and, I see guys my age posting, I've just acquired 100 units, I'm like amazing and awesome, and look at me, I'm better than everybody else. And I choose not to do that, because I feel like I want to have a positive impact on others, on my community. I don't want people to feel less than themselves, right? Even though you might not intend it.
That's an interesting perspective. And listen, I can, you wear your heart on your sleeve. I can see that, my friend. I would say this to you, though. That the only people that would feel less than are the ones that aren't going to push forward with their lives. The ones that want more will be inspired and encouraged from it. Okay. Like I'll give you a great example. Okay. I have a mastermind. I've got some of the top syndicators in the world in this mastermind, about $4 billion in assets in there now. We just met. And I just found out that my hero, a guy I had on my podcast with 17,000 units, Albert Barras, is coming to my mastermind. And so I said, listen, I'm going to fly you. I'm going to give you a first-class ticket, and I'm going to pay for your hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton where this event's going to take place. And his assistant said, well, Albert really just likes to take his own jet, so he'll fly down there on his own. And some people would have been just, kind of put off by that. Like maybe you feel like people would be put off by you posting a picture of your new apartment complex. But I was massively inspired. Okay. I was like, I told my wife, this is so freaking cool. He's flying his own jet down here on his dime, which is probably $25,000 out of his pocket to come to my mastermind. Anyway, so I just wanted to give you a different perspective, brother. I think as long as you're coming at your successes from a place that you want to inspire and push other people, I think it's okay to share them, because the right people will be inspired. That's just my spin on what you just said.
I like that. I appreciate it. I mean, I'm always open to learning, and I think that's a really great point.
Thank you.
I think I have to bring you back, Rod. I mean, this is what I care about, right? Mindset, how to win. I think you can be a monk, right, somewhere in Southeast Asia and still win, right? I don't think it has to be apartments, real estate, businesses. It's just really winning in life. So
Listen, success is different to every person. You
mm-hmm,
know, success could be being a monk.
mm-hmm,
Success could be um, helping your family. Success
mm-hmm,
could be being a billionaire. I mean,
mm-hmm.
everybody's got a different view of it, and you know, and you know, it's really funny. I started my podcast because I wanted to share my message about getting my butt handed to me, and that's why I started the podcast, because I had 800 houses. And I had several apartment complexes, and the houses are what pulled me down. So the whole reason I started my podcast was to tell people, if you're going to buy and hold real estate, for God's sakes, do multifamily, because my multifamily did just fine through the crash. The problem was I had cross-collateralized it with my single family. I had packages of houses in the same loan with the multifamily, so I lost it all. But you know, but that was part of the reason I started the podcast. That, and because I hate asking for money, and I knew I wanted to get investors. Like, you know, we're raising money for 1,000 doors right now, some fantastic deals. I'm very conservative, fantastic deals, but I don't like asking for money. So the podcast, of course, has done that. I mean, we raise millions in days. So, but the point is, I knew I had a point there, and I just lost it. It just fell out on the floor.
No, there's so many points. It's like
yeah, no, the podcast. So the reason, that's the reason I did it. And it's funny, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. I used to say early on in the podcast, I'll never sell you anything. Okay. And because I never planned to, but now I've got courses, I've got coaching, I've got, you know, about 200 coaching students. I've had 5 sold out live events, and I love it. I mean, life on the wall behind me, I've got a board with hundreds of thank you cards from the people that have taken action and bought apartments. I mean, show you right there. You can see it, you know, literally 3 deep with thank you cards. So, you know, it's funny. You start out on one path, and then things can just shift like crazy. But as long as you know what it is you want and why you want it, and you stay focused on that goal, even when life throws challenges at you, if you refocus on the goal and just change your approach and keep changing it, that's a success formula. If one thing doesn't work, try something else. And I will tell you, that's how you achieve success, as long as you're focused on what it is you want. So anyway, Ola, I apologize. I interrupted you yet once again.
It's okay. It's thank you so much for the extra tidbits. I think there is just so much for us to talk about. But I think we're definitely dwelling into the quick round. These are going to be quick questions, quick answers. Okay. You ready, sir?
Okay. Sure. Let's do it.
All right. First question. I think you've answered this already, but you know, give us another answer. What makes Rod unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
I've been told it's authenticity, because I wear my heart on my sleeve. You know, I lost it all. I do my live events in flip-flops, and not, you know, people think it's because it's like my brand, it's like my little branding, but it's not. It's really just because my feet hurt. But people always, you know, so many other people do it in suits and ties. I'm in a black t-shirt, jeans, and flip-flops, you know, and so I think that kind of sets me apart. But I really do have a love of people, and I never realized how much I enjoy helping people. And so, you know, I think that kind of sets me apart too. But I think most human beings that are whole psychologically have a love of others and want to contribute and help down deep. It's a basic human need, the need to contribute. So I'd say that's my answer on that one.
Good answer. I like that.
Thank
Second one. What is the last book that you read, and what was the one thing you picked up from that book?
Well, ask Gary Keller, I guess, on that one, right? The one thing. I gift, my love language is gifts. And so I gift my students literally dozens of books. And so let's talk about some of the ones I've gifted. One is the 5 languages of love. You need to know, you know, what your partner's love language is. And we all feel love one of 5 ways for the most part. And mine happens to be gifts. I feel love when I give something to someone. But The Slight Edge is a great book about the little decisions you make every day. Of course, Think and Grow Rich. I've given away literally thousands of copies of that. By the way, I've got a free book. It's still free. I don't know when this episode will air, but it's going on Amazon for $25 here in about like 45 days, but I'll give it to your listeners for free if they want it now. It'd just be the PDF of it, but it's 200 pages. It's like a textbook for multifamily investing. Just text the word ROD to 41411 and I'll give them a copy of that book. And also, if you've got passive investors on here, we are always raising money to accredited investors. So if they're accredited, let's see if it's a fit. Text the word partner to 41411 and we'll chat with you to see, if we're a fit for each other. We've got a deal right now that we're raising money for that the seller paid $21 million for, and we're buying it for $16 million and change. And so all we have to do is get the occupancy back up and we'll make $5 million literally in months. So those are, so if any of your listeners are interested, text partner to 41411. And if you want the book, just text ROD to 41411. But,
Sweet.
Did I answer your question, or did I go off on a road again?
You did. Last question. You've got obviously a fantastic business. You're doing great work with the event. I'm going to be speaking about that soon as well. You've got your family. You're doing a lot of good stuff. What do you do for fun?
Well, I love to read. I'm going to Paris in 4 days. I'm taking a 3-week vacation, which I desperately need. So very much looking forward to that with my brothers. We're going to take a river cruise down the Rhine from Amsterdam to Zurich. And yeah, so that's what I do for fun. Travel and read. Those are my 2 favorite things. And I love boating as well. I'm shopping for another boat right now. That's, like I said, that's my backyard behind me. I'm right on the bay here. Just so blessed to live in Florida. I should be a poster child for the Chamber of Commerce here. I love it here so much.
Fantastic. We definitely share that, reading and obviously traveling a lot. This is half of my library. I've got my other books in London where I'm from.
Love it.
Yeah, definitely. If there anyone listening to this thinking, wow, I really love, everything Rod has been saying. I want to connect with Rod. I want to know more. Where is the one place or the best place people can, connect with you?
Well, I hope if you're interested in this business, you'll come see me in Denver. I'm going to be in Denver, May 17th, 18th, 19th. I mean, come see me. I promise you'll be glad you came. And I will tell you, I've got a Facebook group that literally just hit 25,000 people today. I congratulated the 25,000th person this morning. And so it's a great place to connect with other people in this business. And if you go to multifamilycommunity.com, it's a direct link to that Facebook group. And, we'll let you in. You have to answer a couple questions, but we'll let you right in. And, so that's a great place to connect with other people. Now, if you're interested in anything that I'm doing, it's my website, rodkhleif.com, Khleif as in Frank.com. But, if you've got a link for the event that you can put in the show notes,
yeah, definitely.
That would be, yeah.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Rod. Learned a ton. Really lovely talking to you. Basically speak my language, which is mindset and how to win in life. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend. It was a real pleasure. Have a wonderful day, and let's stay in touch, brother.
Cut. Wow, that was that was a different one. I don't think I've had an interview as quite like
Listen, if you'd like to have the dry, boring syndication discussion, get me back on. I'm happy to do it. I'll try to keep it as boring as I can. But it really truly is 90% is mindset. Did we set you up as an affiliate?
Yes. So I filled out the form.
I forgot about that. I was just going to tell Alex that I didn't realize that, or I wouldn't have said, did I say Rod in Denver at the first part?
Yes.
Then cut it out. Cut that out so we use your link so you get credit. Okay. I wasn't thinking. I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay. It's totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine. I was I even had some young investors. They're 2 doctors from Kentucky. I don't know if you know them. Ola, his name is Ola as well. Ola Shikoya and his wife. You probably
buddy,
you have so many.
I'm up into the thousands of people now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad we spoke. Hopefully I can try to make it to Denver myself. I'm looking.
Well, you can come as my guest, of course. So please just let me know if you can make it. You'll really enjoy it if you can. I promise you that. Great networking, and I look forward to seeing you. we should hit 500-600 people for sure. We're at 350 already. So, and we've still got a month and a half. So it'll be the largest ones by far. But all right, my friend. Well, listen, thank you for your help. And again, if you can cut out the link and put your own in somehow, I'm sorry.
It's
Alex
okay.
didn't.
It's totally fine. Totally fine.
Okay.
All right.
All right. All right. All right. Take care, my friend.
All right. You too.
All right.
Okay.
See you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. You may have heard the phrase, there are 1,000 ways to make $1,000 in real estate. Well, now you can actually tune into the world's longest running daily real estate podcast with over 1,000 podcasts and still running. The best real estate investing advice ever show is hosted by a very good friend of mine, Joe Fellas. His show, The Best Real Estate Investing Ever, his show features influential thought leaders sharing their best advice ever with none of the fluff. You've got to check this stuff out. So listen and subscribe at thebestevershow.com. That's thebestevershow.com. You may have heard the phrase, there are 1,000 ways to make $1,000 in real estate. Well, now you can actually tune into the world's longest running real estate investing podcast with over You may have heard the phrase, there are 1,000 ways to make $1,000 in real estate. Well, now you can actually tune into the world's longest running daily real estate investing podcast with over 1,000, believe it, or 1,000 podcasts and still going. The Best Real Estate Investing Advice Ever show is hosted by a very good friend of mine, Joe Fellas. Joe talks to influential thought leaders, who share the best advice ever with none